The last ambassador, Alina Vasquez, stood at the observation deck of the Zephyrian command station, watching the twin suns of the Kepler system cast long shadows across the metallic surface. The diplomatic chamber behind her buzzed with tension, filled with alien dignitaries whose blue-scaled faces showed increasing impatience. 3 months of negotiations had led to this moment, and Alina knew with cold certainty that humanity was about to cross a line from which there would be no return. The Zephyrian High Chancellor Zixtar approached with measured steps, his four arms crossed in what Alina had learned was a gesture of finality among his species. The translator device around his throat crackled to life, converting his chittering language into crisp English. Ambassador Vasquez, your species has exhausted our patience. The Terran colonies in the Outer Rim will be absorbed into the Empire within 48 standard hours, or we will take them by force. This is not a negotiation anymore. This is an ultimatum. Alina turned slowly, her weathered face betraying none of the storm raging in her chest. At 62, she had spent the last 20 years of her life trying to prevent this exact moment. She had watched the Zephyrian Empire grow bold, absorbing smaller civilizations under the guise of galactic unity. She had seen them, humanities, prosperous colonies with increasing hunger, and she had hoped, desperately, that words could prevent what was coming. Chancellor Zixtar, she replied, her voice steady despite the weight of her decision. Humanity has offered every reasonable compromise. We have shared our technology, opened our trade routes, and welcomed Zephyrian citizens to our worlds. But you ask us to abandon our own people. That is something we cannot and will not do. The Chancellor's scales shifted to a deeper blue, a sign of anger in his species. Around the chamber, other Zephyrian officials began chittering among themselves, their agitation growing. Alina noticed the subtle positioning of guards near the exits, the way their hands moved closer to their energy weapons. They expected her to crumble under pressure, to beg for more time, to offer greater concessions. Instead, Alina reached into her diplomatic pouch and withdrew a small, crystalline device. The Zephyrians recognized it immediately as a quantum communicator, one of humanity's most advanced pieces of technology. Without breaking eye contact with the Chancellor, she pressed a single button. The device pulsed once with a soft blue light, then went dark. "What have you done?" Zixtar demanded, his voice rising an octave through the translator. Alina placed the now-dead communicator on the polished table between them. "I have just sent a single word to Earth, Chancellor. One word that will change everything between our species." "What word?" Elena's eyes hardened, and for the first time in 20 years of diplomatic service, she allowed her true feelings to show. "No." The silence that followed stretched like a taut wire. Alina could hear the soft hum of the station's life support systems, the distant vibration of engines, the barely audible breathing of dozens of beings waiting for someone to break first. But Alina Vasquez had been born in the mining colonies of Titan, where silence meant survival and words were precious things not to be wasted. "You will regret this decision," Zixtar hissed. "Your colonies are isolated, your fleet is small. We will crush your resistance within days." Alina smiled. Then, a cold expression that sent an involuntary shiver through several Zephyrian observers. "Chancellor, you have made one critical mistake in all your calculations. And what is that? You think we have been negotiating in good faith all these years because we were weak. You think we kept talking because we had no choice." Alina gathered her belongings with deliberate calm. "But humans only negotiate when we believe peace is possible. When we stop talking, It means we have already decided what comes next. She walked toward the chamber's exit, her footsteps echoing in the sudden quiet. At the threshold, she paused and looked back one final time. In 47 hours and 37 minutes, your ultimatum expires. I suggest you spend that time wisely, Chancellor, because after that, you will never hear from humanity again. And believe me when I tell you, our silence will be far more terrifying than any words we could speak. The chamber doors sealed behind her with a soft hiss, leaving the Zephyrian leadership in stunned silence. Alina walked through the corridor toward her ship, knowing that every step carried her away from a lifetime of diplomatic service and towards something darker, something her species had hoped they would never need to unleash again. Her personal shuttle was a modest vessel, designed for diplomatic missions rather than combat. As she settled into the pilot's seat, Alina activated her personal communication array, expecting to hear the familiar chatter of human vessels. The routine traffic of commerce and conversation that had connected humanity across dozens of star systems for generations. Instead, she heard nothing. Every human frequency was dead, not jammed, not disrupted, simply silent. No distress calls, no military communications, no civilian broadcasts, no merchant vessels requesting docking clearance. It was as if every human in the galaxy had simply stopped talking at the exact moment she had pressed that button. Hands trembled slightly as she tried different channels, different protocols, even emergency frequencies that should have responded automatically. Nothing. The vast network of human civilization had gone dark in perfect synchronization, leaving only the background radiation of space and the distant chatter of alien species who had no idea what was about to unfold. She thought of her daughter on New Geneva, her grandchildren on the agricultural colony of Haven's Rest, her brother serving aboard a merchant vessel somewhere in the inner systems. Were they safe? Were they part of whatever was coming, or were they as blind to it as she had been? The flight back to human space took 18 hours. Alina spent every minute of it trying to raise someone, anyone, on the human communication networks. The silence followed her like a living thing, growing heavier with each passing hour. When she finally reached the border of human territory, she expected to find patrol ships, customs vessels, the normal traffic of civilization. Instead, she found emptiness. The orbital stations were still there, their running lights blinking in perfect order, but no one answered her hails. Automated systems guided her shuttle to a docking bay on Station Prometheus. But the corridors were empty when she disembarked. Not abandoned, simply empty. As if everyone had important business elsewhere. Alina made her way to the station's communication center, her footsteps echoing strangely in the vacant halls. The equipment was still running, displays showing normal system status, but when she tried to place a call to Earth, the connection terminated before it could establish. It was then that she noticed the message waiting in her personal inbox. A single transmission from Earth's Central Command, time-stamped exactly 47 hours in the future. Her hands shook as she opened it. Ambassador Vasquez. By the time you read this, the silent protocol will be in effect. Return to Earth immediately. Do not attempt to contact anyone. Do not deviate from the attached flight plan. What you witnessed today was the end of negotiations. What comes next is the demonstration of why we negotiate at all. Welcome to humanity's real face. The message was signed by Fleet Admiral Harrison Kane, a name Alina recognized from the military directories but had never met. Below his signature was a single line that made her blood run cold. The hunt begins at dawn. the ghosts of terror 3 million kilometers beyond the edge of the Zephyrian Empire's outer sensor grid. Admiral Marcus Chen stood on the bridge of the TNS Retribution, watching his tactical display with the patience of a predator. The massive dreadnought hung in the darkness of space like a sleeping giant, its hull black as the void itself, designed to be invisible to every scanning technology the galaxy possessed dot around him. His bridge crew worked in absolute silence. Hand signals, text, communications, neural links, every method of coordination except the spoken word. They had been practicing this for 5 years, ever since the Zephyrian Empire had first made their territorial ambitions clear. Every human vessel in deep space had been retrofitted, every crew retrained, every contingency planned for the day when talking would end and humanity would reveal what lay beneath 20 years of diplomatic smiles. Chen touched his temple, activating the neural interface that connected him to every ship in his fleet. The thoughts flowed like data streams, precise and cold. 47 vessels materialized on his mental map, each one a ghost ship invisible to enemy sensors, each one carrying enough firepower to level a planet. The silent protocol was not just about communication. It was about becoming something the galaxy had never seen before. For 2 decades, humanity had traded, negotiated, and compromised while their enemies grew bold. But those 20 years had not been wasted. Every diplomatic mission had been a reconnaissance operation. Every trade agreement had included hidden military clauses. Every peaceful gesture had masked the careful positioning of assets throughout known space. Chun's tactical officer, Commander Lisa Park, pointed to her display without speaking. Her fingers moved across the holographic interface, highlighting a Zephyrian patrol squadron approaching their position. 12 ships, heavily armed but scanning in routine patterns. They had no idea they were flying directly into the teeth of humanity's hidden fleet. The Admiral activated his command interface, sending precise orders to his task force. The Retribution and her sister ships began to move, not with the thunderous engine burns typical of space combat, but with whisper-quiet ion drives that left no thermal signature. They flowed through space like shadows, positioning themselves around the Zephyrian squadron with mathematical precision. Commander Park held up 5 fingers, then 4, then 3. The countdown continued in perfect silence while the enemy ships maintained their patrol route, oblivious to the death that surrounded them. When Park's fist closed, 12 different beams of concentrated energy lanced out from positions. The Zephyrians could not see. The enemy squadron simply vanished. Not destroyed in brilliant explosions, not scattered by overwhelming firepower, but surgically eliminated with weapons so advanced that they left nothing behind but dissipating energy signatures. The entire engagement lasted for seconds. There were no survivors, no distress calls, no evidence that the ships had ever existed. Chen allowed himself a moment of grim satisfaction. The Zephyrians had grown accustomed to facing species who fought with honor, who announced their intentions, who followed the galactic rules of engagement. They were about to learn that humanity had spent those 20 years of peace preparing for a very different kind of war. The neural link carried confirmation from his other task forces throughout Zephyrian space. Captain Sarah Mitchell's stealth squadron had eliminated 3 supply convoys without a trace. Commander Jake Rodriguez's infiltration team had sabotaged orbital defense platforms on 6 different worlds, leaving them operational but completely under human control. Dr. Leela Okafor's electronic warfare specialists had inserted viruses into every major Zephyrian communication network, ready to activate at the Admiral's command. But the most important message came from Earth itself. Fleet Admiral Kane's personal authorization, transmitted through quantum encryption so complex that only human minds could decode it. The message was simple, carrying the weight of humanity's collective decision. All stop measures are now authorized. Show them what we are. Chen activated the fleet-wide command network, his thoughts flowing to every human vessel in the galaxy. In the depths of space, hidden bases powered up weapons that had been sleeping for decades. Sleeper agents embedded in alien governments activated protocols they had hoped never to use. Human colonies that had seemed defenseless revealed defensive. Systems that made Sifrian technology look primitive. The transformation was invisible to alien observers, but devastating in its scope. Within minutes, humanity went from appearing weak and scattered to revealing itself as the most dangerous predator the galaxy had ever produced. They had used the years of peace to study their enemies, to plan, to prepare, to become something that could eliminate threats before those threats even knew they existed. On the bridge of the Retribution, Commander Park pointed to her long-range sensors. A massive Zephyrian fleet was assembling near their home system, clearly preparing for the invasion of human colonies the Chancellor Zixtar had promised. 300 ships, the largest armada the Empire had ever fielded, bristling with weapons and carrying enough troops to occupy a dozen worlds. Chen smiled coldly and began issuing orders through the neural link. His ghost fleet began to move, not toward the enemy armada, but around it, positioning themselves for a demonstration that would be seen throughout the galaxy. The Zephyrians wanted a war. Humanity was about to show them that war was a game they had been playing at the amateur level in the depths of space. Silent engines pushed invisible ships toward positions that would allow them to rewrite the balance of power in a single, coordinated strike. The Admiral thought of Ambassador Vasquez, probably still trying to understand why humanity had gone quiet. Soon, she would witness the answer. The hunt had indeed begun at dawn, and for the first time in galactic history, humans were the apex. Predators, the Zephyrian Armada, continued its preparations. Their crews, confident in their superior numbers and firepower. They had no way of knowing that they were already surrounded, already targeted, already dead. They would learn, in the final moments before their ships went dark forever, that humanity's greatest weapon had never been their technology or their numbers. It had been their patience. Admiral Chen checked his chronometer. In 36 hours, Chancellor Zixtar's ultimatum would expire. The Zephyrians expected humanity to surrender or fight a hopeless battle against impossible odds. Instead, they were about to discover that the gentle species they had threatened possessed the most terrifying capability in the known universe: the ability to plan, to wait, and to strike with absolute precision when the moment was right. The silence of space was about to become very loud indeed.